Hi guys, it's Uga and welcome back to another video. Today I'll be doing my review and let's discuss Salem Falls by Jodi Picoult. This book is the book of the month from Dora and Sandra's project, led Jodi Picoult. And Salem Falls is the story of Jack. In the present action, he's leaving the prison. He's been there for 8 months. And from the beginning, we know that he's been wrongly accused of having not a correct behavior and a sexual intercourse with a student. There's two timelines in this book. You have the past. We follow more Jake's past, from his years in that school being a teacher and all the what happened to him being accused and convicted from sexual assault, and also to his younger ages. He was condemned because he signed a plea bargain. The lawyer that was advising him said, it's your only option, you'll get more if you go to trial, even if you are innocent, so just get the deal. Which is not a good thing to a lawyer to do, but in the present action, Jack is trying to live his life again, and he ends up ending on Salem Falls. When he arrives, he goes to this diner who is looking for someone to work, and he gets accepted because he helps the owner. The owner is Eddie, and he has also a very interesting story and a very interesting character on this book. By law, each time that he arrives to a new city, he has to go to the police officer out of the town and says, I'm here and I'm a sexual assaulter convicted for I don't know how many years. He says that, and the sheriff's like, okay, I have to be careful with him, I'll be an eye on him, but then he starts forget. There's another officer who is very much in love with Eddie, and since Jack has a relationship with Eddie and they start to hang up together, he becomes very jealous, and he finds out Jack's secret or his past and spreads to town. Of course, the town becomes very much a riot and everyone is looking different to Jack now. We have a nucleus of 4 persons. There is Jillian, Chelsea, Whitney and Meg. These 4 girls are from high school more or less, and Gillian is the leader of them. They practiced Wicca, so they supposedly to nature, the earth and the spirits of the god and the goddess, only do good. And they start doing that, but as the movie Craft from the 1990s, Gillian starts to have hunger for power. Her main goal is to talk with her deceased mother, and after she's being rejected time after time with Jack, she starts to perform more darkest witchcraft with her friends, and they ended up setting a trap for Jack. And Jack is again accused of rape, in this case Gillian. Although this book could look like just, okay, he's going to show the different side of or what could happen when a man is wrongly accused, and it could be like, this book was written in 2000, it's passed in 2000, so it was released 2001, so it's a very different time from now, but there are stories that still happen, it's a possibility. And although Jodi wrote this book, she later wrote another book of the contrary story, The 10th Circle, which is about a woman who is actually raped, but no one believes her because the man who raped her, I think it was her boyfriend at the time, is the perfect ideal. So we have the 2 side stories. But in the story itself, we have not only the problem of a man who is wrongly accused of raping someone, we have a loss of a loved one, which is a very important plotline for Eddie and Eddie's father, but also Eddie, who has a troubled past. I will not disclaimer a lot of that because it could be a little bit of spoiler, but we see both sides of this major theme. The story itself, it's very fascinating, you get the idea, you get also the Wicca principles, which is a very not usual. Jodi has this ability sometimes to put some magical stuff, a magical realism, some witchcraft or someone who's had godlike powers or connect to God. In this case, she has these 5 characters who are connected to this Wicca magic and they perform spells. She also does a lot of research as always, and she says in the book and in the end that my biggest fear when I was reading Salem Falls was that I would somehow not convey equally the horror of being raped and that of being wrongly accused as a rapist. The last thing I wanted to do was to trivialize the trauma of rape by suggesting that the majority of women fabricate their claims likewise. I didn't want to hold the convict rapists up as a role model, simply because a very small fraction of them are innocent. To this end, I create the character of X to balance Jack. I want the readers to be invested in both stories and to understand what they are both violated by someone to the opposite sex. And what she says is basically she has the two types. You have the one who is wrongly accused and the one who is falsely raped, to someone who is actual accused or should be actually accused because he's never accused, to someone who was raped by someone. And that idea is like, okay, you are not putting this in terms of everyone is equal or there is a measure. No, you have the two extremes, and it gives you an overall perspective. The story is very well written as always. Jodi Picoult has an amazing writing style. I flew this book in 2 days. It's a very fast paced in a way that it captivates you. You go by reading, and when you end up, oh, I'm already here, and you continue to know the story. The characters are very not likable, but you connect with them because they are not perfect, you know. Roy's troubled past with the loss of her wife, and how he turns up to alcoholism. It's heartbreaking to see someone who feels that guilt of something that he could never imagine, that just arguing with his wife for something as simple as peace could end up having her an heart attack and killing her, and how that grief works with you, and how he never touched again in the kitchen. It's very interesting to follow these characters, you know, even when you following the bad guys, you know, like Gillian from the beginning. You see how her mind works, how she wants the things, how she manipulates everyone around her, you know, the friends and everything. It's reached the end, and you see the perspective of the end. It was like, okay, this is a troubled family and a troubled story, but it was very good. You get the idea from the beginning that Jack is innocent, of course, but you see how troubled it is to believe in yourself, especially when you were convicted at the beginning and you were not wisely advised. There's a recurrent character here from Jodi Picoult book. The lawyer that will assist Jack will be, I think it's in the future, because the timelines has to be like that. So it will be the lawyer that will advocate Peter on 19 minutes. So it's Jodi likes to do that. Sometimes characters will go from book to book when she deserves, especially when there are law enforcement. And I really enjoy, because the name it sounds like I saw this character somewhere, and in my case it was I saw him in the future first, and you see them on the past. It's enjoyable. Jodi has this ability of her books are still contemporary. Even books from 20 years ago like this one is still contemporary to these days. You know, the topic is actually very relevant. From this to the 10th Circle, about sexual assault and how the different aspects of everything, they are very interesting, you know. And the court scenes are also very well elaborated. It's one of the things I always expect from a Jodi Picoult book is the court scenes, because they are very intense, and you see all the evidence and you start to question how the person who is innocent is going to win, or how someone who is guilty, but you also start rooting for him, because in this case with 90 minutes he's totally guilty, but he was conducted to become guilty because other external factors. How people has I love Jodi Picoult's books. As you know, I'm a total fan, and this was not a disappointment. I love the story. I love the characters, you know, from the bad guys to the more good guys, because I think in Jodi books you don't have that perfect good guy, you don't have that perfect bad guy. There are always gray characters, you know. You have good actions, they have bad actions, they have bad attitudes, they have good attitudes, you know. They have a backstory to make them as who they are and what they believe, and that gives you another level of character, you know, another level of character building, which I really enjoy. How she's able to do this. One of the and this is a geeky moment that Jodi has in this book. Gilly's father has a pharmaceutical industry very big, and in one time in 2 times when she goes to the lab with her father, and in the court they talk about gas chromatography, which is a technique that I use every day in my work life, and how they explain how it worked and what you get. I was like, oh my god, this is actually correct, and it's how it is. So if you don't know, gas chromatography is a technique that we use to quantify chemicals in a reaction or in a bloodstream or something. We inject on the gas chromatographer and it goes by a column and it gets burned, but the compounds are divided by how long they stay in the column, and the longer they stay, we say they have a higher retention time, and it can be from their sizes to their polarities. It depends on the column that you have, but it's a technique that I use every day, and I was like, yes, of course. And the second technique they use is a mass spectroscopy, which I also use. Overall, I hope you read these books. I hope you find the Jodi Picoult book that will work for you, because they are almost all amazing. There's amazing stories, amazing debates that we can make here in the community. Tell me in the comments if you read any of Jodi Picoult's book. I'm really excited to know how many people know Jodi as a writer. I'll post videos every Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays, so I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!